Hello everyone and welcome back to the final boss Haipu 11 and 2 warrior. Let's do it guys. The dream 12 win warrior. That's what we're going for. Let's dive right into the mulligan. I mean, normally I dig for a 2, but Arathi Weaponsmith is so good that I usually end up keeping it. This could be considered a greedy mulligan, it's very true, but it's just that Arathi Weaponsmith on turn 4 is so strong and provides with so much control over the game. You get that free weapon, you get the body, and we do hit our 2-drop, so let's say fairly ballsy mulligan there, but you know, we are at the stage where we are going to face good decks, so I really want to have that Arathi Weaponsmith. Okay, so this play is kind of dirty. We just drew a Mad Bomber and he has a Worgen. That's bombs away, right? It's kind of a gamble that you want to take because it's fairly likely to hit him. And then if it does, then you kind of just win. We apologize for our good luck, of course, but it's looks like our opponent just drew a Zombie Chow. Imagine if he had the Zombie Chow on turn 1. This game is like completely different. But yeah. We just drew an answer here. We have a 1-drop and a 2-drop, so that's our turn 3. We trade in the Mad Bomber. You know, so far it's fairly straightforward, guys. The more interesting decisions are going to come later in this game. So let's see what our opponent throws at us here. Right now we have the Arathi Weaponsmith in the hand, you know, because we kept her in the mulligan. And it pays off so much. We can just play the Weaponsmith here, use the Croc in our face to kill his guy. I'll take a second here to analyze the board, because there's obviously 2 ways of going about this, right? The first way is to just Korkron that, go face for 3. But then your board consists of a 2-3 and a 1-3. Whereas if you play the Arathi Weaponsmith, use your face and the Crocodile to kill it, your board consists of a 3-3, a 1-3, and a 2 damage weapon. So I mean, that is just so much better. So if you take a second to analyze the board, you'll find the right answer very fast. But sometimes people just go like, oh, 4 health, 4 damage, yep, let's just throw the Korkron in there. So yeah, here we go, good trade. Because in this stage of the game, you still want to somewhat control the board, right? That Brewmaster was a very easy kill. You don't want him to get a Divine Shield on that and just kill your guy. Shredders, however, are a different story. I rarely want to deal with Shredders because they soak up so much damage. Like, you have to deal with the first half, then you have to deal with the second half as well. Sometimes whatever comes out is going to be problematic. You know, sometimes you really need it to be a 3-2 and it's a 2-3. Sometimes you really need it to be a 2-3 and it's a 3-2. So here I debated it for quite a while and I was like, well, I mean, I could use my face and my 1-3 in there, then hope it's a 2-3, kill it with my 3-3. Oh, sorry guys. For some reason, I'm always yawny when I do these. I apologize. But the Korkron Elite here allows us to put a lot of pressure on his face. And if he trades into the Korkron with a Divine Shield, that's very unfortunate. But I feel like we can't trade. So, like, he made a kind of a confusing move here, killing the Warbolt. But then it makes sense because of that Bomb Lubber. Okay, so that was the first interesting decision here, to ignore the Shredder to just deal extra face damage. The second interesting decision here is I feel like a lot of people here would have just used face into the Shredder and see what pops out. But once again, I don't really want to deal with the Shredder because that's just going to spawn a new body. So what seems better to me is I just want to slam the 3-3, use my face on the 3-3. I will have drawn a card for my slam. His 3-3 is dead, and I can just play a second Korkron and then just deal 8 face damage. So once again, it seems kind of greedy, it seems kind of bad, but I think it's correct, especially if you know the deck, you know what the deck is good at, you know what the deck is not good at. The deck is really good at finding reach, so if you can put your opponent to 12 with 8 damage on the board and 8 damage in the hand, I mean, it's not that bad. Opponent gets a Blood Mage Stalnos, not the best, not the worst. And here goes the taunts, because we already had lethal in the hand. You see how fast it is, right? We would have had turn 7 lethal, right? In this, like in the Smirk song, like turn 7 lethal. Yep. But now we have to do kind of a more value approach. This is a very, like, this is the turn where you kind of shift gears. Like, we went full ham early with the Shredder. Our opponent put up the taunt wall. We're like, okay, I identify that you have that taunt wall. I'm going to get a bit more value oriented right now, because otherwise I'm going to run out of cards and I'm not going to be able to beat you. So for me, it seems fairly good here that we're going to Heroic Strike the Cult Master. Like, note how good the Heroic Strikes have been throughout this run. And here, there's kind of a value play you can do. You can use the Arcane Golem to kill his 1/1, use the 4/3 to kill his 2/3, and then play Battle Rage. That means you're going to draw 3 cards. That's fine. Also, it really plays really heavily into Consecrate, but if he doesn't have the Consecration, then you kind of just win, right? Because you still have 8 power on the board, you didn't lose anything, and you just drew 3 cards. So that's it's pretty strong. So we'll see if our opponent can deal with it, see what he plays here. Iron for Grizzly, another Taunt, but that's not too bad. We do have that Heroic Strike in the hand. These Heroic Strikes, man, they're coming through. Alright, no Dragons or Pirates for him. Mad Bomber, not the best card for this board, not at all. But yeah, once again, fairly straightforward play, I'd say. We just Heroic Strike to kill the bear. We deal 8 face damage because we are fairly close to lethal. We do not want to trade off these minions, because he told us that he doesn't have Consecrate. If he had Consecrate, he would have played it. And then we played a Belcher. Good example of how a taunt can be used aggressively, because a lot of the times a Belcher is going to be a defensive card, but you can use Belcher and Sunwalker as an aggressive card as well. When you have low health, high damage minions, you throw in the Belcher to protect them. Your opponent can't access the low health, high damage minions, and therefore you'll just have lethal. So we'll see if he can deal with it. If he can't, then we just go face and win, of course. That follow though. Kappa 1, 2, 3. Oh, he gives us the well played, so I'm assuming the game is over, and there we go. The victory is yours. GG, guys. 12 wins with the Warrior. Amazing, amazing. That's pretty solid. There we go, that nice key. I think this was a good example of how you can kind of approach the game from a different angle. Like, not the standard playstyle, and still do well. But that requires you to draft in a specific way, that requires you to play in a specific way, and it also means that sometimes you are going to have to just be ballsy when you make plays. Like, a lot of people go like, oh, I couldn't have made that battle rage play because what if he had Consecrates? Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's still a card game after all. Sometimes you are just going to have to accept that if he has a particular card, you will lose to it. In an ideal scenario, you can play around nearly every frequently seen card, but more often than not, you are just going to have to accept that if he has that specific card, you will just lose on the spot. One of those cards happens to be Flame Strike. It's one of those cards where you just sometimes have to say, if you have it, you win, right? I cannot play around it. And the moment you cannot play around it, you pretend like the card does not exist. Because if you can't beat it, why try to play around it? Alright guys, that concludes our Warrior series. I'll be coming back to you tomorrow already with a new series. That'll be a TGT run, because I do have already some 12 wins saved up for you guys in TGT. There's some hilarious moments in there as well, so I'm sure we'll find a both entertaining and educational run to cast. So guys, once again, thank you all so much for watching. This was Shady Bunny with my 12 win analysis, and yeah, I will see you all next time.